I'm David, 58, male. I am a retired architect living in the home I designed myself just outside of Austin, Texas. Since my wife passed away 5 years ago, I've shared this large, hollow space with my adult daughter and her boyfriend, footing the bill for a lifestyle they feel entitled to but haven't earned. Teaser. I thought I was funding a family reconnection trip, a 2-week luxury getaway to heal old wounds. I paid for the flights, the villa, and the food. But hours after they left for the airport, my phone buzzed with a message that shattered my heart and hardened my resolve. They didn't want me there, they just wanted my credit card. They thought they held all the power because they knew I was lonely. They forgot that I was the one holding the deed to the roof over their heads. Audience engagement hook. Before we get into how a single text message cost my daughter her inheritance, I'd love to connect with you. Please let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and if you've ever had to make a heartbreaking decision to cut off a family member for your own sanity. It's a tough road, and I'm curious to hear your stories. The silence in my kitchen was usually the kind that hummed with the refrigerator's motor or the settling of the foundation. Sounds I knew intimately, because I had drawn the blueprints for this house 30 years ago. But lately, the silence felt different. It was heavy, charged with an unspoken tension that seemed to suck the oxygen right out of the room whenever my daughter, Chloe, and her boyfriend, Liam, walked in. I sat at the granite island, a cup of coffee cooling in my hands. It was 7:00 a.m. I had been up since 500, a habit from my days running a firm that I couldn't quite shake in retirement. The morning sun was just starting to cut through the large bay windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. I looked around the kitchen. It was a masterpiece of mid-century modern design, clean lines, walnut cabinetry, and a flow that was meant to encourage family gatherings. My wife, Elena, had loved this room. She used to say that the kitchen was the heart, and as long as it was beating, the family was alive. But Alina had been gone for 5 years now, and the heart of this house had developed an arrhythmia. Did you book the transfer? The voice startled me. I turned to see Liam standing in the doorway. He was 28, though he carried himself with the unearned confidence of a teenager who had just discovered his father's liquor cabinet. He was wearing silk pajama pants and a T-shirt that likely cost more than my first car. He didn't say, "Good morning." He didn't say, "Hello, David," just a demand. "Good morning, Liam," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Yes, the transfer from the airport to the villa is booked. The driver will meet us at baggage claim." Liam grunted, walking past me to open the fridge. He stood there for a moment, the cool light washing over his face, before grabbing a carton of almond milk. "Chill. Just checking. Chloe was stressing about it last night. She needs to start filming content the second we land, and we can't be waiting around for an Uber." "It's a private car," I reminded him. "I arranged everything." "Right. Cool." He took a swig directly from the carton, caught my eye, and shrugged before putting it back. I tightened my grip on my coffee mug. It was a small thing, drinking from the carton, but it was indicative of the larger problem. Boundaries didn't exist for Liam. And because Chloe was so enamored with him, they didn't exist for her anymore either. Chloe entered a moment later, her eyes glued to her phone. At 26, she was the spitting image of her mother, dark curls, striking green eyes, and a smile that could light up a room. The problem was I rarely saw that smile directed at me anymore. It was reserved for her front-facing camera, for her 60,000 followers on Instagram, and, inexplicably, for Liam. "Morning, Dad," she mumbled, not looking up. Her thumbs were flying across the screen. "Morning, sweetheart," I said, trying to inject some warmth into the air. "Are you excited? Flight leaves in 6 hours. She finally looked up, but her expression was one of mild annoyance, as if I had interrupted a crucial negotiation. "Yeah, obviously. But I'm trying to coordinate a collab with a swimwear brand while we're there, and the Wi-Fi at the villa better be fast." "Did you check the speed?" I didn't run a speed test." "Chloe," I admitted, "it's a luxury villa in Turks and Caicos. I assume it has decent internet." "You assume." Liam chimed in, leaning against the counter and picking at a loose thread on his shirt. "Assumptions are the mother of all screw-ups, David. In our line of work, connectivity is currency." "Our line of work," I had to suppress a scoff. Liam described himself as an entrepreneur and a visionary, as far as I could tell. His business model involved reselling sneakers online and trying to piggyback off Chloe's moderate social media success. He had moved into my house 6 months ago, ostensibly to save money for their own place, but I hadn't seen a single dime saved, nor had I seen a single rental listing browsed. "I'm sure it will be fine," I said, standing up and taking my mug to the sink. "This trip is supposed to be about relaxing. Remember, Family time, we haven't had a vacation together since. I trailed off. Since before Alina died. Chloe softened just a fraction. I know, Dad, and we appreciate you paying for it. Seriously, it's going to be great. Yeah, thanks, Dave, Liam added, though his tone suggested he was thanking a waiter for refilling his water, not the man funding a $15,000 excursion. I washed my mug, staring out the window at the backyard. The pool needed cleaning. The landscaping crew was coming tomorrow while we were away. I had built this life, this comfort, with decades of 70-hour work weeks, drafting plans until my eyes blurred, navigating zoning laws and client tantrums. I had done it to provide a fortress for my family. But now it felt less like a fortress and more like a hotel where I was the concierge. I'm going to finish packing, I said, drying my hands. We need to leave for the airport at 1100. Actually, Chloe said, her voice pitching up slightly, a tell I recognized from her childhood whenever she was about to ask for something she knew she shouldn't. About the ride to the airport. I turned around. Yes, Liam and I are going to take his car. We have a lot of equipment. Tripods, lighting, outfit changes. It's just easier if we load it up ourselves and park in long term. I have the SUV, I said. There's plenty of room. It's not just space, Dave, Liam interjected. We need to vibe check on the way there. Get in the zone. Listen to our playlists, brainstorm content strategy. It's work mode. I felt a sting of rejection, sharp and familiar. A 40-minute drive. That was all I was asking for. 40 minutes to maybe talk about the weather or politics or just exist in the same space without a screen between us. Okay, I said slowly. So, I'll meet you at the gate. Yeah, we'll see you at the gate, Chloe said, already turning back to the coffee machine. Oh, and Dad, can you make sure you don't wear that beige fishing hat? It really clashes with the aesthetic I'm going for in the arrival shots. It's a sun hat, Chloe. I have fair skin. Just maybe buy a fedora. Or nothing, please, I sighed. I'll see what I can do. I retreated to my study, the one room in the house that Liam hadn't colonized with his clutter. It was lined with bookshelves floor to ceiling, filled with architectural digests, history books, and photo albums. I pulled one album off the shelf. It was from a trip to Italy 20 years ago. Chloe was 6. She was sitting on my shoulders in front of the Colosseum, her hands gripping my hair, laughing with pure, unadulterated joy. I traced her face in the photo. Where had that little girl gone? I knew grief changed people. When Elena died, Chloe was 21, just finishing college. She took it hard, spiraling into a period of rebellion that eventually morphed into this superficial validation-seeking persona. I had tried to be patient. I had tried to be the soft place for her to land, but in doing so, I had become a doormat. And then there was Liam. I had tried to like him. Truly. When Chloe first brought him home, I took him golfing. I asked about his business plans. I offered to introduce him to some contacts. But it quickly became clear that Liam wasn't interested in building, he was interested in taking. He treated Chloe like a prop and me like a bank. But this trip was supposed to be the reset button. I had booked a villa with 3 bedrooms, a private chef for 2 nights, and a boat charter. I wanted to remind Chloe that there was a world outside of her phone screen. I wanted to remind her that she had a father who loved her, not just a landlord who subsidized her. I finished packing my suitcase. A sturdy leather carry-on I'd had for a decade. I didn't have outfit changes. I had linen shirts, swim trunks, and a few books. I placed the passport holder on top of my clothes. Inside were 3 tickets. I sat at my desk and looked at the blueprints of the house framed on the wall. The Sterling residence. I remembered drawing the lines for Chloe's room. I had positioned the window specifically so she would get the morning light, hoping it would make her a morning person. It hadn't worked. My phone buzzed on the desk, a notification from the bank. Transaction alert $450 at the Grove Spa. I frowned. Chloe had my supplementary card for emergencies. Apparently, a pre-vacation facial counted as an emergency. I let it slide. I always let it slide, David. It was Liam again, shouting from the hallway. He didn't knock. He never knocked. And here, I called out. He poked his head in. Hey, do we have any of those darker trash bags, the heavy-duty ones, under the sink in the laundry room? Why? Cleaning out the car. It's a mess. He didn't say thanks. He just vanished. I sat there for a long time, the silence of the study pressing in on me. I felt a deep, aching exhaustion that had nothing to do with sleep. It was the exhaustion of being the adult in the room, constantly managing the emotions and logistics for 2 people who seemed capable of neither. I looked at the clock, 9:30 a.m. They would be leaving soon. I decided I would leave early, too. Maybe get a nice lunch at the airport, watch the planes take off. I needed a moment of transition before the family time began. I zipped up my suitcase and wheeled it into the hallway. The house was chaotic now. Chloe was running back and forth between her bedroom and the laundry room, shouting about a missing sarong. Liam was dragging a massive duffel bag down the stairs, bumping it against the freshly painted wainscoting with every step. "Watch the paint, Liam!" I snapped, my patience fraying. He looked up, annoyed. "It's just paint, Dave. It touches up." "It's mahogany wainscoting," I corrected. "And you're denting it." "Whatever. We're in a rush." Chloe stormed out of her room, holding a neon pink bikini. "I found it!" "Okay, are we ready?" "The lighting is going to be terrible if we don't leave in 10 minutes. She stopped when she saw me standing there with my bag. She looked at me, then at Liam, then back at me. There was a strange look in her eyes, guilt, hesitation. It was gone in a flash, replaced by her usual frantic energy. "You're leaving now, too?" she asked. "I thought I'd beat the traffic," I said. "Grab a bite at the terminal." "Oh? Okay, cool." She shifted on her feet. Dad." "Yes." Can you verify the transfer to my account? I need to have some cash on hand for tips and stuff when we land." "I gave you $500 cash yesterday, Chloe." "I know, but Liam needs to buy some duty-free stuff, and we might want to upgrade the rental car if the one they have isn't cute." I stared at her. "The rental car is a Range Rover, Chloe. It's plenty cute. Just in case," she pressed, putting on a pout that used to work when she was 12. I pulled out my phone and transferred another $500. "There, that's it. No more until we land. You're the best." She gave me a quick, side hug, barely touching me, terrified of wrinkling her linen jumpsuit. "Okay, we gotta go. Love you."
"See you there? I see you there," I said.
They rushed out the door, a whirlwind of luggage and expensive perfume. I watched them go through the front window. Liam threw the bags into the trunk of his leased BMW, which I signed for it with careless force. They got in and I watched them sit in the driveway for 5 minutes, presumably setting up their GPS or choosing a playlist, before peeling out. I was alone again. I took a deep breath, adjusted my collar, and walked to the garage. I got into my Lexus, the leather cool against my back. As the garage door opened, revealing the sprawling manicured lawn of the home I had built, I felt a strange sense of foreboding. I had no idea that I was looking at my home for the last time as its owner. The drive to Austin Bergstrom International Airport was usually a time for me to decompress, but today my mind was racing. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Chloe's hesitation in the hallway, the way Liam wouldn't meet my eyes, it wasn't just their usual rudeness. It felt conspiratorial. I parked in the long-term garage, meticulously noting the section in row H4. I was a man of systems. Systems kept chaos at bay. I retrieved my suitcase and began the walk to the terminal. The Texas heat was already rising, radiating off the concrete, but the airport was a biosphere of air, conditioned neutrality. I checked in at the kiosk. The machine spit out my boarding pass. Seat 3A. First class. I had booked first class for all of us. I wanted this trip to be special from start to finish. I checked the seating map. 3C and 3D were occupied, Chloe and Liam. We would be sitting together, sipping champagne, maybe finally having a real conversation. I went through security, the TSA pre-check line moving swiftly. By the time I reached the concourse, I had 2 hours before the flight. I found a seat at a steakhouse near our gate, ordered a club soda and a Cobb salad, and pulled out my book. I checked my phone. No messages from Chloe. They should have parked and been through security by now. I opened the Find My app, a habit I developed when Chloe was in college and driving late at night. Their dots were at the airport, over near Terminal B. Strange. We were flying out of the main terminal. Maybe they parked in the wrong lot. I sent a text check and went smooth. "I'm at the Salt Lick near Gate 12. Where are you guys?" 10 minutes passed, no reply. I ate my salad, the fork scraping against the plate sounding loud in my ears. I watched families walking past, a father chasing a toddler, a couple holding hands. Looking exhausted but happy, I felt a pang of jealousy. I was the father who provided everything, yet I felt like I was providing it to strangers. 20 minutes passed. I checked the app again. Their dots were moving. They were coming toward the gate. Good. Then my phone buzzed. "A text message! I picked it up expecting on our way!" Or Liam got held up at security. It was from Chloe. It was a long block of text. My stomach dropped before I even read the first word. "Hey, Dad. So Liam and I have been talking in the car and while waiting in line. This is really hard to say, but we think it's better if you don't come on this trip." I froze. The noise of the airport, the announcements, the chatter, the clinking silverware, fell away into a dull roar. I read it again. "Better if you don't come." I scrolled down to read the rest. "We really need this time for us. Our relationship has been kind of rocky lately. You know how stressful social media is." and we need to just focus on our brand and our connection without having to worry about entertaining you or feeling judged. Liam feels like he can't be himself around you because you're always watching him. We want this to be a youth vibes trip for content, and honestly, having you there would just throw off the energy. We really appreciate the villa and everything! It's going to be amazing. We can do a family dinner when we get back to make it up to you. Please don't be mad. We just need space. Love you. So I stared at the screen. The words blurred. Throw off the energy. Entertaining you. Liam feels like he can't be himself. I felt a physical blow to my chest, a hollow thud that knocked the wind out of me. I wasn't a father to them. I was a wallet. I was a logistics manager. And now that the logistics were handled, the villa paid for, the flights booked, the cash transferred, I was an obstruction. They had waited until I was at the airport. They had waited until the last possible second, ensuring the non-refundable reservations couldn't be canceled, ensuring I was already committed, before cutting me loose. I looked up. Through the glass walls of the restaurant I saw them. They were walking toward the gate. Chloe was wearing the neon pink outfit she had packed. Liam had his arm draped over her shoulder, laughing at something on his phone. They looked carefree. They didn't look like people who had just sent a devastating message to their father, sitting 100 feet away. They walked right past the restaurant. They didn't even look for me. They were heading straight for the gate, ready to board the flight I paid for, to sleep in the villa I rented, to eat the food I bought. Rage, cold and sharp, began to replace the shock. I typed a reply. My fingers were trembling, not from sadness, but from an adrenaline spike I hadn't felt in years. I am sitting at the gate. I see you. You want me to go home? I watched them stop walking. Chloe looked at her phone. She froze. She grabbed Liam's arm. They huddled together, whispering. Then Chloe typed, Dad, please don't make a scene. It's super awkward if you come over here. Just go home. We'll call you when we land. Please respect our boundaries. Boundaries. The word echoed in my head. They lived in my house rent-free. They ate my food. They drove cars I paid for. They used my credit cards. But when I wanted to spend time with them on a vacation I fully funded, suddenly boundaries were the most important thing in the world. I looked at them one last time. Liam was scanning the crowd, looking nervous, probably afraid I was going to storm over there and demand my money back. Chloe just looked annoyed, like I was a stain on her perfect dress. I didn't storm over. I didn't yell. I stood up, signaled the waiter, and paid my bill. I left a 20% tip. Then I picked up my bag and turned away from the gate. I walked back toward the exit. As I walked, the sadness evaporated. It was incinerated by the heat of a realization so profound it felt like a religious awakening. I had been enabling this. I had created this monster. I had built a beautiful cage for them, padded with cash and comfort, and I was surprised when they bit the hand that fed them. They wanted space. They wanted to be independent influencers and entrepreneurs. They wanted youth vibes without the old man watching. Fine. I walked out of the terminal and back into the stifling Texas heat. I didn't go to my car immediately. I stood on the curb, the smell of jet fuel and exhaust filling my nose. I pulled out my phone again. I opened the Delta app. I didn't cancel their tickets. That would be petty, and it would give them a warning. They needed to get on that plane. They needed to be thousands of miles away. I watched the status update, Flight DL 459 to Providenciales, boarding. They were getting on. They were probably high-fiving, thinking they had won. Thinking the old man would just drive home, mope around the empty house, and have a hot meal waiting for them when they returned in 2 weeks. I walked to my car, put my bag in the trunk, and sat in the driver's seat. I looked at the dashboard clock. 12:45 p.m. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in a professional capacity in 3 years. Marcus Thorne. The voice answered, crisp and authoritative. Marcus, it's David. David! I thought you were wheels up to the Caribbean. Don't tell me the flight was delayed. I'm not going, I said. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, flat metallic. What happened? Everything okay. Everything is clear. Marcus, listen to me carefully. I need you to draft some paperwork for me. Okay, shoot. What do you need? Eviction notices. 2 of them. For Chloe and Liam. There was a silence on the other end. David, are you sure? Did something happen? They fired me from my own vacation, Marcus. They took the trip and told me to go home. They want independence. I'm going to give it to them. Full, unadulterated independence, Jesus! David, that's harsh. But, legally, if they've been living there, we have to give them 30 days' notice. Draft it. 30 days starting today. But that's not all.
There's more. Yes, I'm selling the house.
Your what? The Sterling residence. David, you built that house with your own hands. It's your legacy. It's not a legacy, I said, staring at the concrete wall of the parking garage. It's a hotel for ungrateful children. I want it gone. I want to sell it. Now, David, take a breath. You're angry. Don't make a rash decision about a multi-million-dollar asset because you're pissed off. I'm not pissed off, Marcus. I'm done. Do you still have that contact, the developer who has been pestering me for the lot for the last 2 years? The one who wants to subdivide the acreage? Hanson. Yeah. He asks about it every quarter. But David, he'll tear the house down. He just wants the land. I don't care, I said. Call him. Tell him if he can wire the cash and close in 10 days. It's his. 10 days. That's impossible. Make it possible. Tell him I'll take 20% under market value for a 10-day close, as is cash only. He's been dying for this land. He'll do it. David, are you drinking? I am stone, cold sober Marcus. Call him. I'm driving home to start packing. I hung up before he could argue. I started the car. The engine purred to life. I felt a strange sensation in my chest. It wasn't pain anymore, it was lightness. The burden of being the provider, the protector, the constant safety net. I had just cut the rope. They wanted a vacation. They were going to get one. And when they came back, they were going to find out exactly what youth vibe is. Looked like when Daddy wasn't paying the mortgage. The drive back to the house felt longer than the drive to the airport, even though the traffic was lighter. When I pulled into the driveway, the house loomed over me. It was a sprawling structure of limestone and glass, nestled into a hill of live oaks. I used to look at it with pride. I remembered laying the foundation. I remembered Elena planting the rose bushes along the walkway. Now, it just looked like a giant, expensive storage unit for people who didn't respect me. I walked inside. The house was quiet. The air conditioning was humming. Liam's half-empty almond milk carton was still on the counter where he'd left it. A pair of Chloe's shoes were kicked off in the middle of the foyer. I stepped over them. I walked into the living room and sat on the Eames lounge chair, my chair. I looked out the floor, to ceiling windows at the view I had paid a premium for. I needed to be sure. I needed to know that this wasn't just a temper tantrum. I closed my eyes and pictured the last 5 years. The time I paid off Liam's the 15,000 credit card debt because he said the interest rates were predatory, and he promised to pay me back. He never did. The time Chloe wrecked her car and I bought her a new one because she couldn't be seen in a used Honda for her brand image. The way they ordered takeout every night and left the containers for me to throw away. The way they rolled their eyes when I talked about my day, about books I read, about anything that didn't involve them. I opened my eyes. The doubt was gone. My phone rang. It was Marcus, David. He said, his voice breathless. I called Hanson. And he thought I was joking at first. When I told him the price and the timeline, he nearly choked. He wants it. He's drafting a letter of intent right now. He says he can have the funds in escrow by Friday and close by next Monday. Excellent, I said. David, listen to me. This is insane. You are leaving at least $500,000 on the table by selling it this fast to a developer. Let me list it properly. Sarah can get it on the MLS. We can do a bidding war. No, I cut him off. If we list it, there will be showings. Chloe and Liam will find out. They'll sabotage it. They'll refuse to leave during open houses. They'll make it a nightmare. I want this done while they are in Turks and Caicos. I want the deed transferred before their plane touches down in Austin. You want them to come home to a house you don't own? I want them to come home to a house that is locked, I said, with a security guard out front. Okay, Marcus sighed. You're the boss. But what about your stuff? You have 30 years of accumulation in there. I'm keeping what matters. The rest, sell it, donate it. Trashed it. I don't care. I need you to sign the listing agreement and the disclosure forms. I'm sending them via DocuSign now. I'll sign them immediately. And David, I called Sarah anyway, she's going to handle the transaction side for you to make sure Hanson doesn't try to screw you on the closing costs. She's on her way to your place now to do a walkthrough. Good. Send her over. I hung up and stood up. I walked to the fireplace mantel. There was a framed photo of the three of us, Elena, Chloe, and me, from Chloe's high school graduation. We looked so happy. Elena looked so proud. I tried I whispered to the photo. I really tried, but I can't do it anymore. I took the photo out of the frame and put the picture in my pocket. I left the frame on the mantel. Then I went to work. I went to the garage and grabbed a stack of flattened moving boxes I had saved. I brought them into my study. I started with the books, my architectural monographs, my history books, the things that defined me, not Dad, not David the wallet, but David the architect. I packed them methodically. Tape fill, seal label. I heard a car pull up the driveway. A door slammed. David, it was Sarah. She let herself in. She had the code from when she helped me refinance a few years ago. She walked into the study, looking impeccable in a navy blazer. She looked around at the boxes, then at me. Her expression was a mix of professional concern and personal worry. "Marcus told me," she said. "Is the paperwork ready?" I asked, not stopping my packing. "It is." "But David, are you sure? This is your dream home." I corrected. "Now it's just a house. And I'm tired of being the caretaker." She walked over and placed a hand on my arm. "Okay. If you're sure Hanson is a shark, but the offer is solid cash, we can close in 8 days. That puts closing day 2 days before they return. Perfect. What about the furniture, the art?" "I'm taking my semi-personal items, my clothes, and the pieces that Alina loved. Everything else. The sofas, the dining table, the electronics, the bedroom sets, it's included in the sale. Tell Hanson he's buying it furnished. He can sell it or burn it." Sarah's eyes widened. "David, that Eames chair alone is worth $6,000. The dining table is custom. I don't want it," I said. "I don't want anything that reminds me of living here with them." "Okay," she said, pulling a tablet out of her bag. "Let's do this. Sign here, here, and here." I signed. My signature was firm. "So," Sarah said, tapping the screen. "Where are you going to go?" I paused. I hadn't actually thought that far ahead. "I don't know," I admitted. "Maybe a hotel for a while. Then maybe a condo downtown, something small. Something with a view of the river. Something with no extra bedrooms." Sarah smiled a small, sad smile. "I have a listing downtown. The Austonian. 25th floor. 1 bedroom, 1 study. It's available immediately." "Show it to me tomorrow," I said. "I will." She looked at the boxes. "Do you want me to call a moving crew?" "I can get it done. Movers here by tomorrow morning. They can pack the rest of your study and your bedroom in 4 hours." "Yes, do it." She stepped back. "One last thing, David. Chloe. Does she have any legal claim to the property? Is her name on anything?"
"No," I said.
"Just mine. It passed to me solely when Alina died." "And the contents of her room?" I thought about Chloe's room. The piles of clothes, the ring lights, the endless boxes of PR packages from brands she was trying to court. "We have to give her a chance to collect her property," I said. "Legally. We can pack it," Sarah suggested. "We can box up her room and Liam's room and put it in a storage unit. Pay for 1 month, hand them the key when they get back." I looked at Sarah. She was ruthless. "I like that. Do it," I said. "Box it all up. Every single thing. Leave the rooms bare. Consider it done." Sarah left to make the calls. I went back to packing. My phone buzzed again. A notification from Instagram. Chloe had posted a story. I clicked on it. It was a video of her and Liam in the first-class lounge Z, which I paid for. They were clinking glasses of champagne. "Vacation mode activated!" Chloe squealed at the camera, so ready to unplug and recharge with my boo. "No drama, just vibes. Peace out, Texas!" Liam leaned in and kissed her cheek. "Catch you on the flip side." I stared at the screen. No drama. I put the phone down and picked up a roll of packing tape. The sound of the tape ripping off the roll was loud, harsh, and incredibly satisfying. "Enjoy the vibes, kids," I said to the empty room. "Because the flip side is going to be a hell of a lot different than you think." The next morning, the house was a beehive of activity, but not the kind Chloe and Liam were used to. Instead of the lazy shuffle of slippered feet or the drone of a YouTube video, the air was filled with the rhythmic zip, tear of packing tape, and the heavy thud of boots on hardwood. Sarah's movers, a team of 4 efficient men in navy jumpsuits, had arrived at 800 a.m. sharp. They moved with a military precision that I found soothing. There was no emotion in their work, just logistics. "Master bedroom is cleared, Mr. Carter." The foreman, a burly man named Mike, said. "We're moving on to the guest rooms now." "Be careful in the second guest room," I said, sipping my coffee from a paper cup. My mugs were already packed. "There's a lot of equipment. Cameras, lights. Try not to break anything, but pack it all. You want it labeled? Just label the boxes Chloe and Liam. Don't bother organizing it. Just get it out of the house." I watched them ascend the stairs. I felt a flicker of something. Guilt. No. It was more like the phantom pain of a severed limb. I was amputating the parts of my life that were poisoning me. It was necessary surgery, but that didn't mean it was painless. By noon, my study was empty. The shelves were bare, the desk cleared. The only thing left was the phone, which I had kept plugged in just in case. It rang. David Carter, speaking. "This is Robert Hanson. Marcus tells me you're serious about the expedited timeline." Hanson's voice was like gravel in a cement mixer. Rough, abrasive, and utterly devoid of sentiment. He was a developer who had paved over half the hill country with cookie-cutter subdivisions. I used to despise men like him. Now he was my savior. "I am," I said. "As serious as a heart attack. Do you have the cash?" Funds are being wired to the title company as we speak. My guys did a drive by this morning. Place looks good. We'll tear it down, of course. Zoning allows for 4 luxury townhomes on that lot. I flinched. Tear it down. The house I designed. The house where I carried Alina over the threshold. The house where Chloe took her first steps. That's your prerogative, Robert, I said, my voice steady. Once the deed is transferred, you can paint it pink and turn it into a circus for all I care. Good man. No emotional baggage. I like that. We signed closing docs on Friday. A Friday at 10:00 a.m. at Marcus's office. Done. I hung up. I stood in the center of the empty study. I thought I would feel sad knowing the walls were coming down. But instead, I felt a strange sense of closure. If the family was broken, why should the house stand? It was a monument to a life that no longer existed. Let the bulldozers come. Let them scrape the slate clean. I walked out to the living room. Sarah was there, directing the movers who were wrapping the custom Italian leather sofa in plastic. We have a problem, she said, looking up from her clipboard. What now? We found something in Liam's room. Under the bed. My stomach tightened.
Drugs. No, not exactly. Come see.
I followed her up the stairs to the guest room Liam had claimed. The room smelled of stale cologne and unwashed laundry. The movers had stripped the bed and cleared the closet. In the center of the room sat a shoebox. Sarah pointed to it. One of the guys knocked it over. The lid came off. I walked over and looked inside. It was full of letters. Not love letters. They were letters from debt collectors. Credit card companies, a car loan provider, a personal loan shark service. I picked one up. Final notice. Amount due $12,400. I picked up another. Past due, immediate action required. Amount due $8,500. I did a quick mental calculation. There was easily $50,000 of debt in that box. He's drowning? I muttered. There's more, Sarah said softly. She reached into the box and pulled out a bank statement. It wasn't Liam's, it was Chloe's. I took it. It was a joint account she had opened with him 6 months ago. The balance was negative. There were withdrawals for crypto investment platform, online casino, and luxury car rentals. I felt a surge of nausea. He wasn't just a freeloader, he was a parasite. He was bleeding her dry, and she was letting him. Or maybe she didn't know the extent of it. He's using her credit, I said. He's ruining her financial future. David? Sarah said gently. This validates everything you're doing. If you don't cut them off, he will drag you down with him. He'll come for your retirement next. He probably already has a plan for it. She was right. If I had gone on that trip, if I had stayed in the picture, eventually the emergency requests would have started. Dad, we're in trouble. Dad, we need a loan. Dad, just sign this guarantee. I dropped the statement back into the box. Pack it, I said. Tape it shut. Put it in the storage unit with the rest of their junk. You're not going to tell her. Not yet. She won't listen. She thinks he's an entrepreneur. She needs to see the reality of life without my safety net. When the money runs out, and it will run out fast, she'll have to face this box. We finished packing by 4:00 p.m. The house echoed now. It was a shell. I walked through the empty rooms one last time. The kitchen, stripped of its appliances and warmth. The living room, devoid of furniture. Chloe's room, now just a square of beige carpet and white walls. I didn't say goodbye. I just locked the front door. I drove to the storage facility on the outskirts of town, a secure, climate-controlled place. Sarah had rented a Tanks 10 unit. I watched the movers stack the boxes. Chloe clothes. Liam missed Chloe's shoes. The box of debt was buried somewhere in the back. I put a heavy, duty padlock on the door. I put the key in an envelope. Then I drove to the hotel Sarah had booked for me. It was a nice suite downtown overlooking the river. It was clean, modern, and completely impersonal. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed. My phone buzzed. It was a notification from Chloe. She had posted a photo on Instagram. It was a shot of her and Liam on the beach in Turks and Caicos. The water was an impossible turquoise. Chloe was in her neon bikini holding a coconut. Liam was flexing his abs next to her. The caption read, "Paradise found. So grateful for this life. Manifesting abundance and good vibes only." From Blessed 5 Boss Babe by Power Couple, I looked at the manifesting abundance. Hashtag. You're manifesting a foreclosure. I whispered to the screen. I swiped to the next story. It was a video of the villa. "Guys, look at this place!" Chloe narrated, panning the camera around the infinity pool. It is literal goals. We are going to be creating so much content here. Stay tuned. She didn't mention me. She didn't say, "Thanks to my dad for paying for this." She acted as if this villa was a natural extension of her own success. I felt a cold resolve settle over me. I opened my email and sent a message to Marcus. Subject closing body, I'm ready for Friday. Also draft a letter to be delivered to Chloe via email and certified mail on the day they return. It should contain the address of the storage unit and the code to the gate. Nothing else. I hit send. Then I turned off my phone. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for a call. I wasn't waiting for a crisis. I was just waiting for Friday. The sale was the easy part. The silence was harder. But the hardest part was knowing that while I was dismantling their lives, they were sipping cocktails on a beach, completely unaware that the ground beneath them had already crumbled. 7 days later, I was sitting in my new condo. Sarah had been right. The view from the 25th floor of the Austonian was spectacular. I could see the Colorado River winding through the city, the bridges lighting up as dusk fell. The condo was smaller than my house, sleek and modern. I had furnished it simply a comfortable leather chair, a good reading lamp, a small dining table. It was quiet, peaceful. I had closed on the house 2 days ago. The money was in my account. A staggering sum that ensured I could live comfortably for the rest of my life, even without the house. Hansen had already put up a construction fence around the property. The demolition permit was filed. My phone sat on the coffee table. I hadn't heard from Chloe in a week. No texts, no calls. Just the constant stream of social media updates. I knew their schedule. Their flight was due to land tomorrow afternoon at 3:00 p.m. I picked up the iPad and opened Instagram. I admit, it had become a bit of a dark ritual for me these past few days, watching their perfect vacation while knowing what awaited them. Chloe's latest post was a carousel of photos from a boat day. Photo 1 seen Chloe driving the boat, hair blowing in the wind. Photo 29, Liam jumping off the side mid-air. Photo 3, a spread of lobster and champagne. Caption, living our best lives. Honestly, don't want to come home. Might just stay here forever. Careful what you wish for, I muttered. Then, I noticed something in the comments. A comment from Liam's account on his own photo. Liam King, big moves coming soon. Watch this space. Empire building. I frowned. Empire building. With whose money? I clicked on Liam's profile. He had posted a story an hour ago. It was a video of him sitting at the villa's outdoor table, looking serious. Yo, what's up, guys? He said, talking to the camera. Just wanted to drop some knowledge. You gotta surround yourself with people who see your vision. Cut out the toxicity. Cut out the dead weight. We're out here in Turks planning the next phase of our brand. And let me tell you, it's going to be huge. No more answering to anyone. We are the CEOs of our own destiny. Dead weight, he was talking about me. He was sitting in a villa I paid for, eating food I bought, telling his followers that I was the dead weight. My hand clenched around the iPad. The audacity was breathtaking. But then the video glitch cut to Chloe. She looked stressed. Babe, the card got declined again, she said from the background, not realizing he was recording. Liam's face fell for a split second before he recovered. Yeah, I'll call the bank, babe. Probably just a fraud protection thing because we're international. All good. He ended the video abruptly. I smiled. I had canceled the supplementary card 3 days ago. I hadn't told them. I figured they had enough cash from the transfer I made at the airport to survive, but the luxury extras, the spas, the upgrades, the lobster dinners, were over. They were probably scrambling right now. I checked the time. 7:00 p.m. in Austin. 8:00 p.m. in Turks and Caicos. It was their last night. I wondered if they were starting to panic. Or if Liam was just spinning more lies. My phone rang. It was Chloe. I stared at the screen. Chloe calling. My thumb hovered over the decline button. This was the test. If I answered, I would be sucked back in. They would ask for money. They would ask why the card wasn't working. They would demand a ride from the airport tomorrow. I let it ring. It rang 4 times. 5 times. Then it went to voicemail. A minute later, a text came through. Dad, are you there? The credit card isn't working. We're trying to check out of the villa tomorrow, and there's an incidental charge for some damages, and the card is being declined. Can you call the bank? It's super embarrassing. Damages. Of course. I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, another text, Dad. Hello, we need to pay this or they won't let us leave for the airport. It's like 800. Just fix it, please. I poured myself a glass of scotch. I watched the city lights flicker. I wasn't going to fix it. They had 500 cash I gave them. They had whatever money Liam supposedly had, which was likely zero. They had Chloe's own debit card, which I knew was overdrawn. They would have to figure it out. Maybe Liam could sell one of his Empire building. Ideas to the concierge. I put the phone on, did not disturb. I slept soundly that night. For the first time in years, I wasn't worried about whether Chloe was okay. I knew she was safe. She was in a 5-star resort. She was just broke. And being broke in a 5-star resort wasn't a tragedy, it was a lesson. The next morning I woke up and checked my phone. 7 missed calls from Chloe. 3 from Liam. A string of texts from Chloe. Dad, seriously, pick up. We had to use Liam's emergency cash he was saving for his product launch. He is so mad. Why are you ignoring me? Are you still mad about the airport thing? That was a week ago! Get over it. We land at 3015. Please bring the SUV. We have a lot of stuff. I laughed out loud. Get over it, I typed a reply. I didn't send it. I just typed it to get it out of my system. I am over it. I'm so over it I sold the house. Instead, I sent nothing. I showered and dressed. I had a meeting with Marcus at 1100 to finalize the trust I was setting up, a trust that would ensure my assets were protected from any future claims, specifically from family members. At 2:00 p.m., I went to the storage unit. I met Sarah there. You have the key, she asked. I held up the envelope. Inside was the key to the padlock and a map to the unit. How are we getting this to them? I asked. I hired a courier, Sarah said. He's going to meet them at the house. At the house. Yes, they're going to drive there, right? They think they live there. The courier will be waiting at the gate. He'll hand them the envelope. Perfect. The construction fence is up. Sarah warned me. It's shocking. Good. I looked at my watch. 3:00 p.m. Their flight was landing. I imagined the scene. The heat of the tarmac, the exhaustion of travel, the tension between them because of the money issues. They would drag their bags to the car. They would drive home, expecting the cool air conditioning, the stocked fridge, the familiar comfort of Dad's house. And instead, I want to see it, I said suddenly. Sarah looked at me. You want to go there? I want to watch. From a distance. I need to see the realization. David, that's risky. If they see you, they won't. I'll park down the street. I have a neighbor, Mrs. Gable. She hates them. She'll let me park in her driveway. Sarah sighed. Okay. But promise me you won't intervene, no matter how much she cries, no matter how much he yells. I promise, I said. I'm just a spectator now. I drove to my old neighborhood. It felt strange to turn onto the familiar street, knowing I didn't belong there anymore. I pulled into Mrs. Gable's driveway, 3 houses down from my old lot. The view was perfect. I could see the construction fence. It was a 6-foot high chain link fence covered in green privacy mesh, surrounding the entire perimeter of the property. A large sign on the fence read Hanson Development, luxury townhomes coming soon. The house itself was still standing, but it looked dark and abandoned. The landscaping was already starting to look neglected. I sat in my car, cracked the window, and waited. At 40:30 p.m., I saw Liam's white BMW turn the corner. It was driving fast. They were home. The BMW slowed down as it approached the driveway, then came to an abrupt halt. I could see the brake lights flare red. They were staring at the fence. I grabbed the pair of binoculars I kept in my glove box for birdwatching. Ironically, I focused on the car. I could see them through the windshield. Liam was driving. His mouth was hanging open. Chloe was in the passenger seat. She was leaning forward, her hands pressed against the glass. They sat there for a full minute, just staring. The engine was idling. Then Liam opened his door and got out. He was wearing a tank top and board shorts, looking ridiculous in the suburban street. He walked up to the chain link fence. He grabbed the mesh and shook it. As if testing if it was a hallucination, he looked at the sign Hanson Development. He turned back to the car and threw his hands up. Chloe got out. She looked disheveled. She walked up to the fence, standing next to him. She pointed at the house, my house, visible through the mesh. I could hear her voice, faint but shrill, carrying over the quiet neighborhood. What is this? Is this a joke? Liam, call him. She pulled out her phone. My phone, sitting on the passenger seat of my car, lit up. I watched it ring. I didn't touch it. She called again. And again. I watched her stomp her foot. She was screaming now.
Oh!
Then the courier arrived, a young man on a scooter. He pulled up next to them. He checked his clipboard, then said something to Chloe. She looked confused. She took the envelope he offered. She tore it open. She pulled out the letter. She read it. I saw her knees buckle. She literally stumbled back against the hood of the BMW. She handed the paper to Liam. He read it. He looked furious. He crumpled the paper and threw it on the ground. Then he picked it up again, realizing it probably contained something important. He looked at the key in his hand. He looked at the house. Then he looked around the street, scanning the windows of the neighbors, as if looking for an audience. He didn't see me, hidden behind Mrs. Gable's hedges. Chloe was crying now. I could see her shoulders shaking. She went to the gate of the fence and rattled the padlock. "Dee," she screamed.
Data, you.
Her voice cracked. It was a sound of pure panic, the panic of a child who realizes the parent is gone. But she wasn't a child. She was 26. Mrs. Gable came out onto her porch. She was a stern woman in her 70s. She crossed her arms and glared at them. "Keep it down," Mrs. Gable shouted. "People live here!" Chloe ran over to Mrs. Gable's yard, stopping at the edge of the grass. Mrs. Gable? Where's my dad? What happened to the house? Is he dead? He's not dead, Mrs. Gable snapped. He moved, sold the place last week. Good riddance to the noise, if you ask me. Sold it? To who? To developers? Can't you read the sign? Now move your car, you're blocking the mail truck. Chloe staggered back to the BMW. Liam was pacing in circles, kicking at the dirt. He can't do this! Liam was yelling, we live here, we have rights! Squatters' rights or something! You don't have squat! Mrs. Gable yelled back. You were guests! Now get going before I call the police. Liam looked like he wanted to fight Mrs. Gable, but he thought better of it. He turned to Chloe and started gesturing wildly. He was blaming her, I could tell. He was pointing at the phone, pointing at the house, yelling in her face. The betrayal was starting. Without the glue of my money holding them together, the cracks were instant. Chloe was sobbing, holding her head in her hands. Finally, they got back into the car. They sat there for another 10 minutes. Probably reading the letter again. Probably realizing the address on the paper was a storage unit, not a new house. The BMW reversed aggressively, tires squealing. They spun around and sped off down the street, heading toward the storage facility. I lowered the binoculars. My heart was pounding, but not from guilt. It was pounding from the sheer intensity of the moment. It was done. The cord was cut. I picked up my phone. I had 12 missed calls. I listened to the voicemail Chloe had just left. Dad, oh my God, we're at the house. There's a fence. Mrs. Gable says you sold it. What is going on? Is this because of the trip? Dad, please. This isn't funny. Where do we go? We have nowhere to go! Liam is freaking out. Please call me back. I'm scared. I'm scared. I closed my eyes. I remembered when she was 5 and scared of the dark. I would go in, turn on the nightlight, and check under the bed. But this wasn't the dark. This was reality. And I couldn't turn on a nightlight for this. I started my car and backed out of the driveway. Mrs. Gable gave me a little wave from her porch. I waved back. I drove back to the city. The next destination for them was the storage unit. A 10x10 metal box filled with their clothes and their debt. That was their inheritance now. I went back to my condo. I sat on the balcony. I knew the next phase would be the legal threats. Liam would find a lawyer. They would try to sue for wrongful eviction. They would try to claim tenancy. I was ready. Marcus was ready. But first, they had to spend a night homeless. I checked the weather. It was going to be a warm night. They had a car. They had clothes. They wouldn't freeze. But for the first time in their lives, they would be uncomfortable. I ordered a pizza. I watched a documentary on Netflix. Around 9:00 p.m., my phone rang again. A different number. I didn't recognize it. I answered. Hello? Is this David Carter? A male voice. Young, aggressive. Who is this? This is Liam. I'm calling from a burner app because you blocked my number. Listen to me, old man. You made a big mistake. I felt a spike of anger. Old man. Hello, Liam, I said calmly. I see you found the storage unit. Yeah, we found your little parting gift. You think this is funny? Locking our stuff up. Selling the house out from under us. I didn't sell it out from under you, Liam. You don't own it. You were guests. And guests who ask their host to leave don't get to stay in the hotel. We have rights! I talked to a buddy of mine who's in pre-law. You can't just kick us out without 30 days' notice! You would notice. I lied smoothly. I told you at the airport. You just weren't listening. That's bullshit! We're going to sue you. We're going to take everything. You have nothing to take, Liam. I know about the debt. I saw the box. Silence on the other end. Heavy, panicked silence. I saw the letters. I continued. I saw the bank statements. I know you've been draining Chloe's account. Does she know? Does she know you're 50 grand in the hole? You went through my stuff? That's illegal! Invasion of privacy! It was in my house. It's my property. Now, listen to me closely. You are not going to sue anyone. You are going to take your boxes, and you are going to leave my daughter alone. If you try to come near me, if you try to harass me, I will hand that box of financial ruin over to the fraud department. I suspect some of those credit applications might have irregularities. It was a bluff, mostly. But parasites like Liam always had secrets. You wouldn't, he hissed. Try me. I just sold my house to spite you. Do you really want to test how far I'll go? He hung up. I put the phone down. My hands were shaking slightly. That was the confrontation. It was ugly. But it was necessary. I looked out at the city. Somewhere out there in a cheap motel, or maybe sleeping in their car, Chloe was realizing that her entrepreneur boyfriend was a fraud and her doormat father was a fortress she had foolishly bombed. The night was quiet. The stars were bright. I was free. The first night of their homelessness was, as I later learned, a comedy of errors that would have been funny if it weren't so pathetic. I pieced it together from a combination of Marcus's updates, the frantic voicemails Chloe continued to leave, which I listened to but did not return, and, surprisingly, social media. They didn't sleep in the car. Of course they didn't. Liam's pride wouldn't allow it, and Chloe's aesthetic couldn't handle it. Instead, they checked into the W Hotel downtown. A $400 8-night room. I saw the tag on Chloe's Instagram story at 11:00 p.m. that night. Photo a view of the city lights from a hotel window. Caption rough night. Sometimes the universe tests you so you can level up. New beginnings. Fair resilience pie grind. I shook my head. She was spinning homelessness as leveling up. She was using a credit card that was likely maxed out or dangerously close to it. They were burning the furniture to keep warm. The next morning, the reality of the storage unit set in. I received a call from the manager of the storage facility around 10:00 a.m. Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Hi, this is Jim from U Store. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Your daughter and a young man, they were here this morning. I expected that. Did they have the key? They did. But there was a bit of a scene. The young man, he was throwing boxes around. He was shouting about his gaming setup. Said something about a cracked monitor. I can assure you the movers were careful, I said. Whatever is broken was likely broken before it went in the box. Well, he was making a lot of noise, kicking the metal door. I had to go down there and tell him to cool it or I'd revoke their access. Thank you, Jim. If he causes any damage to the facility, bill me. I'll handle it. Also, well, he tried to sleep in the unit, sir. He brought a sleeping bag in from his car. I had to explain that this is for storage, not habitation. I sighed. I apologize. They are in a difficult transition. Understood. Just wanted you to know I hung up. So the W Hotel was a one-night stand. They had run out of money. Now they were trying to squat in a storage unit. Liam's empire was crumbling faster than a sandcastle in a hurricane. Around noon, my phone rang again. This time it was Marcus. David, he said, his voice serious. I just got a call from an attorney, a guy named Saul Goodman. No, I'm kidding, but he might as well be. His name is Barry Fink. He represents Liam. I raised an eyebrow. Lim hired a lawyer. With what money? Contingency, probably. Or maybe Liam promised him a cut of the millions he thinks he's going to get from you. Anyway, Fink is threatening a lawsuit for unlawful eviction and get this emotional distress and intentional infliction of suffering. Let him threaten? I said. Does he have a case? On the eviction? Maybe a weak one for improper notice, technically. But since you sold the house and the new owner has already taken possession for demolition, there's no remedy. They can't move back in. The house doesn't exist as a residence anymore. The most a judge would award is maybe rent for 30 days, which is peanuts compared to what legal fees would cost them. So it's a shakedown. Exactly. Fink wants a settlement. He's asking for $50,000 to make this go away. I laughed. A cold, hard laugh. 50,000. That's oddly specific. That's exactly the amount of debt in Liam's shoebox. I figured. Tell Fink to pound San Marcos. Tell him I will counter, sue for the unpaid loans I gave Liam over the last 2 years. I have the bank transfers. Tell him I'll sue for the damage to the property. Tell him I'll drag this out until Liam is collecting Social Security. I love it when you play hardball, David. I'll draft the response. And Marcus, mention the fraud, just vaguely. Mention that we are investigating certain financial discrepancies regarding Chloe's accounts. Will do. That afternoon I decided to go for a walk. I needed fresh air. I walked along the hike and bike trail by the river. It was a beautiful day. Families were out, people were kayaking. I sat on a bench to watch the water. And then I saw her, Chloe. She was walking alone. She wasn't wearing her influencer clothes. She was wearing a pair of sweatpants and a stained t-shirt. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She wasn't filming. She wasn't looking at her phone. She was just walking. She looked exhausted. Her eyes were puffy. She didn't see me. I was wearing a hat and sunglasses, sitting in the shade. She sat on a bench about 50 feet away. She put her head in her hands and started to cry. Not the dramatic attention-seeking sobbing she did at the house. This was quiet, shaking, desperate crying. I felt a pull in my chest. The instinct to go to her, to fix it, to write a check, to hug her. It was overpowering. But I stayed seated. If I went to her now, I would undo everything. She would learn that crying brings Daddy back. She would learn that consequences are temporary. I watched her for 10 minutes. Then she pulled out her phone. She made a call. I couldn't hear what she said, but I saw her body language. She was pleading. She was angry. Then she hung up and threw the phone into her bag aggressively. Liam. It had to be Liam. She sat there for another moment, then wiped her face with her sleeve. She stood up, took a deep breath, and walked away. She looked determined. It was a look I hadn't seen on her face since she was a teenager studying for finals. Maybe, just maybe, it was working. That evening, the first crack in the public facade appeared. Chloe posted a text-only story on Instagram. Black background, white text. Taking a break from socials for a bit. Going through some personal stuff. Realizing who is really there for you and who isn't. Peace and love, no hashtags. No emojis. An hour later, Liam posted to, "Grind never stops. Haters gonna hate. If you aren't helping me build, you're in the way. Solo mission activated. Solo mission." I smiled. They had broken up. Or at least they were fighting. The money was gone. The house was gone. The luxury was gone. And without those things masking the rot in their relationship, they couldn't stand each other. I went to bed feeling a strange sense of hope. Not for me, but for her. The next 3 days were quiet. No lawsuits were filed. Fink apparently realized there was no money to be made. On the 4th day, I got an email. From Miss Chloe Sterling, subject, "Can we talk?" "Dad, I know you're probably ignoring this. I know I deserve it. I've been staying at a friend's place, Jessica from college. You remember her. I'm not with Liam anymore." I kicked him out of the car. I saw the bank statements in the box. I saw what he did. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for a place to stay. Jessica says I can crash on her couch for a month if I help with rent. I want to know why. Why did you do it like this? Why didn't you just tell me? It hurts, Dad, it really hurts. Chloe. I read it 3 times. I saw what he did. She had opened the box. She had faced the truth. I sat down at my computer. I started to type a reply. "Chloe, I did it like this because you weren't listening. I tried to tell you for years. I tried to show you. But you were deafened by him and by your own entitlement. I did it to save you. If I had just kicked him out, you would have left with him. You would have supported him with my money. You would have married him to spite me. By taking away the safety net, I forced you to see him for what he was, a man who only loved you for what you could give him. I love you. That hasn't changed. But I am done being your bank. I am done being your doormat. If you want to talk, we can talk. But not about money, not about the house. We can talk about you, Dad." I hit send. Then I waited. 2 days later, we met. She chose the place, a small coffee shop in South Austin, far away from the scene. I arrived early. I was nervous. I felt like I was going on a first date. I hadn't seen her face to face since the airport. She walked in 10 minutes late. She looked different. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater, less makeup. She looked tired, but she also looked clearer. She saw me and hesitated. Then she walked over and sat down.
"Hi, Dad," she said quietly. "Hi, Chloe."
She didn't order anything. She just folded her hands on the table. "So," she said, "you really sold it. It's gone. It's gone." I confirmed. "They started demolition yesterday." Well, she flinched. I drove by. There was a bulldozer in the living room. "It's just wood and stone, Chloe." "It was our home. It was a building," I said gently. "A home is the people inside it. And we haven't been a home for a long time." She looked down at her hands. I know I've been awful. Since Mom died. You were grieving." "I understand that. But Liam, he wasn't grief. He was a parasite." "I know," she whispered. Tears welled up in her eyes. "I felt so stupid, Dad. I looked at those statements. He spent $5,000 on online poker in 1 month, using my name, and I just let him handle the finances because I was too busy being creative." He's gone now. "Yeah. He tried to come to Jessica's. She threatened to call the cops. Last I heard, he's staying with his cousin in Houston. He blocked me on everything. Good riddance." She wiped her eyes.
"So what now? You're homeless too." I smiled.
"Hardly. I have a condo downtown. It's small, but I like it. Can I see it?" I paused. This was the moment. If I said yes, would she try to move in? Would she bring her bags? "You can visit," I said firmly, "for dinner. But you cannot stay there, Chloe. There is no guest room. There is no couch for you." She nodded slowly. "I get it. I'm staying with Jessica." I got a job. My eyebrows shot up. "A job? Yeah. Not an influencer job. I'm working at Jessica's sister's boutique. Just retail. Folding clothes, running the register. It pays $15 an hour. It's a start," I said. "It's honest money. It sucks," she admitted with a weak laugh. "But it's mine. I bought my own coffee this morning." I felt a surge of pride. It was small, fragile, but it was there. "I'm proud of you," I said. She looked up, surprised. "Really? After everything? Especially after everything, it takes guts to start over." She reached into her bag. "I found this, in the storage unit, in one of Mom's old boxes. I thought you should have it." She slid a small object across the table. It was a silver locket. Elena's locket. I hadn't seen it in years. I thought it was lost. I opened it. Inside was a tiny picture of me and Chloe when she was a baby. "I almost pawned it," she confessed, her voice shaking. When I was desperate last week, Liam told me to pawn it. He said it was just old junk. That's when I knew. That's when I knew he didn't care about us. He didn't care about Mom. She started to cry again. I didn't pawn it, Dad. I kept it. I reached across the table and took her hand. It was the first time we had touched in months. Thank you, I said. We sat there for a long time. We didn't fix everything. There was still a lot of hurt. There was still a lot of anger. But the wall was gone. The wall of entitlement, of money, of Liam, it was all gone. So, she said, wiping her face with a napkin, do you think maybe in a few months, when I save up some money, we could go on a trip? A real one. Just us. I'll pay for my own ticket. I looked at her. I saw the daughter I used to know, peering out from behind the wreckage of the last few years. I'd like that, I said. But let's start with dinner, my treat. But you drive yourself, she laughed. A real laugh. Deal. As we walked out of the coffee shop, I looked at her. She walked a little straighter. She looked less burdened. I had blown up her life. I had taken away her shelter. I had humiliated her. And in doing so, I had saved her. The house was gone. The land was being subdivided. But for the first time in 5 years, the foundation of our family was being poured again. And this time, it was being built on something stronger than cash. It was being built on the truth. Outro camera pans to me, David, sitting on the balcony of my condo. The sun is setting over the Austin skyline. I look calm, content. I'm still living in the condo. I love it here. It's simple. Chloe is still working at the boutique. She was promoted to assistant manager last month. She's renting a small studio apartment about 20 minutes away. It's tiny and she complains about the noisy neighbors, but she pays the rent herself. Every single dime. We have dinner every Sunday. Sometimes she cooks pasta usually because it's cheap. Sometimes I treat us to steak. We don't talk about Liam. We don't talk about the influencer. Life. She deleted her old account and started a new one. It's private. She posts pictures of her cat, her friends, and occasionally her dad. As for the lot where the Sterling residence stood, it's 4 townhomes now. They are modern, boxy, and soulless. They sold for $1 million each. I drove by them the other day. I felt nothing. No nostalgia. No regret. Because I realized something important. A house is just a container. What matters is what you carry with you when you leave. I carried my dignity. I carried my freedom. And eventually, I carried my daughter back to reality. It was the most expensive vacation I never took. And it was worth every penny. Sometimes you have to burn the bridge to stop the enemy from following you home. Thank you for listening to my story. I have to ask, do you think I went too far? Should I have given her a warning, or was the shock necessary to break the cycle? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more tales of justice and redemption. Stay strong, everyone.